Hi everyone, welcome to Table for Two. I am the Elusive Bigfoot.
And I'm Onezie.
And today we are covering for our top 5, in no particular order, games that either have a spooky or a suspenseful theme or that kind of feel. All right?
The darkness.
It could be the darkness, and I looked at it a little bit differently. What created a suspenseful feel for me? Okay?
Okay.
So, do you have any honorable mentions?
I have only 5 on my list of 5, so no honorable mentions.
I do not have an honorable mention this time.
Wait, hold on. You don't have any honorable mentions?
I don't.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
this time. Although I could put one in there if you want.
Well, while I'm recovering from the shock of that, why don't you go ahead and dive into your first one?
All right. My first game is Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein. Is it on your list as well?
It's the first one on my list, yes.
We don't share a list. So the reason why I picked this game is we usually only play this really around Halloween. It is kind of a gruesome game where you're like the descendants of Frankenstein, and you're out and you're trying to get body parts so that you can build your own monster, and then you need to get electricity to go through it and then make it come alive. And there's a story behind it as well, like almost not really a campaign, but with certain actions. A card will tell you to read certain parts in a book, and then you read that, and then someone will get to make a choice about how to take that action, the next action. What do you want to say?
It's pretty spooky, right? That's a pretty dark
It is
game.
very dark, for us especially.
So you can go to the graveyard to dig up body parts. You can go to the hospital to
get a fresh cadaver.
You can go down to the docks and buy body parts from some shady characters, or you could just go to the university and do some research. Right. So each
or
thing,
sometimes you go to the hanging, and then you get really good
That's
stuff.
right. The public hanging. Public hanging. Yeah, Abomination was on my list too. And despite all the dark things we just said about it, it's a really fun game. The way it plays and the mechanics of it are really fun. There's a lot to do and a lot to think about.
And I do want to say that some people have expressed concern that it takes a while to play. So there is a shorter version that is available on Board Game Geek, and I will make sure that we tag how to find that information. I think it's called the Igor variant. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called the Igor variant. And so it does shorten it up a little bit. You start with a certain amount of body parts. You're trying to gain, is it intelligence or knowledge and morality? You want to, you'll get points for having those things. And then from that, if you have a certain amount of points, you get, instead of just being an apprentice, you can be a scientist, and then you can do certain actions that were not available before. But love that game around Halloween. It feels weird the first couple rounds, and after that you kind of get desensitized. Not so bad.
All right. So that was Abomination.
The Heir of Frankenstein. What's your next one?
My next one will be Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
I have that too.
You do?
I do. I almost put the Scooby-Doo version, but I mean, it's like a gentler version of Betrayal at House on the Hill.
So yeah, Betrayal at the House on the Hill is a tile game, and you lay down tiles of the house, and you start out by playing a co-op team of investigators looking for the mysterious horror in this house, investigating the cult activity, and at some point during the game, there's a trigger where one of the characters becomes a betrayer.
Correct.
Thus the title.
There's always a betrayer.
Betrayal at the House on the Hill. So then it becomes a non-co-op game, and the betrayer is playing against all the other players. All the other players are playing against the betrayer.
And they have special books for the person who's the betrayer. You look on the certain page based on something that has happened. Everyone else looks in the other book, and then the objective becomes now, what do we need in order to win? I will say that they released a new version of this game. I want to say it was a year or two ago. So some people feel that that game has fixed some of the mechanics. They feel were not as fun in the original version. I like the original version. We don't play it often enough that it feels that repetitive to me. So I don't remember ever how this is going to go. I feel for me, we play it like once or twice a year at max. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before, there's a Scooby-Doo version, right? So if you're not into full darkness and you kind of want Shaggy and Scooby as some of your characters, we were kind of surprised. We checked out this game somewhere,
It was at
and
Comic-Con we played
at
it.
Comic-Con, and there was we started playing it, and we looked at the components, and we were sort of reading how to play it, and we're like, oh, this is exactly Betrayal at the House on the Hill, except with Scooby-Doo
And
characters.
easier. It's definitely an easier game.
Yeah. So that's Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
What do you got after that?
Oh, I have to do two in a row?
Well, you could.
Okay, my next one is not so dark, but it does have a dark theme.
Okay.
It's Lost in Relay.
I do not have that
which
one.
is a card game, right? And
It's from Atlas Games, I think.
depending on what you have in your hand, you play different 1 or 2 or 3 cards, whatever you've got, and different actions occur depending on how you stacked up the cards on the other cards that have gone down. And the whole point is to get rid of all your cards, plus some more cards that start face up. And once you're rid of all your cards, you are no longer have gone mad. There's not really a winner to the game, which is fun. There's only a loser.
Who sits in the corner and babbles incoherently to themselves.
Yes, so you lose the game if you go mad. So if you're it's the last person playing. Last person playing has the madness, and that's. Sorry, what would you?
I was going to say I really like this game. One thing that is unusual with this particular game is that if I was to play a 2, sometimes there are additional abilities depending on how many people play the number 2 in a row. So if he plays another number 2, that's 2 2s in a row, and it might tell you that you now have this additional ability, and maybe you can just discard another card or something else. And if someone plays another one on top of that, now that's 3 2s. So you kind of want to start stacking it up. So sometimes taking the deck that has been played is not a bad thing, because now you can start to create your engine to get rid of cards.
Yeah, and I've never seen another game with that mechanic of it depends on how many cards are played in a row of that same
I
kind.
haven't either.
All right, so that's Lost in Relay.
Okay. My game that I feel is very suspenseful is Captain is Dead. This is a game that mimics something like Star Trek. So it's not a Star Trek IP, but it has some of the feelings. So the very first thing you do when you set up the game is you have to turn over certain catastrophes. I think it's 3 or 4 in a row. And you start damaging the ship. Captain is dead. Aliens are trying to board. Things are breaking down, and you have to fix the ship and get rid of aliens before. And you also have to fix the engine and the warp engine. You got to get out of there. So things keep breaking on each round, and there's always a catastrophe that happens, but it's also asymmetrical powers. So sometimes maybe you have the ability to fix certain things faster, or maybe you have the ability to get rid of all of the aliens, or maybe you have a plan that will help you repair the communication system so that you can exchange resources to build certain things. So much fun, and it's always stressful because like you can discuss it. It's open communication. It is a co-op game, but sometimes like I don't know what we should do. What do you have in your hand? Do you have something that's going to be able to help us? So great game. That is Captain is Dead.
Great game. Love that game. The next one up on my list of spooky and suspenseful games is 3 Cheers for Master.
Oh, it's good.
So this card game is unlike anyone I've ever seen before. And basically, you play, you have cards that represent the minions of hell. And then there's a foreman of those minions, who's your minion. And the whole idea is that you're building a tower with your cards, kind of like a cheerleader tower. 3 Cheers for Master. And whoever has the best tower at the end of the game will score the most points and win. But during the middle phase of the game. There are these phases where the minions just can't help themselves and they start fighting with each other. So the tower might come down, it might get, part of it might get destroyed, it might get rearranged.
They eat each other.
They eat each other, they fall down and break their limbs, all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of macabre and kind of fun. 3 cheers for Master.
So one thing I want to say is that I love the way that this game is described, where Master is in a bad mood and they want to cheer him up. So they said, I know, I have an idea. Let's build a pyramid of us. And then when he arrives, we'll go, hooray, surprise. So it's not a great idea, but it was an idea. And so, but like Onezie said, they keep getting into fights and they keep knocking each other over, or they keep eating each other. So while you're building your height, you're also trying to build walls of defense so that if anything happens, your cheerleader pile doesn't fall, and you can play a card to increase your pyramid, or you can play a card against your opponent to make them fight. So, great game.
3 cheers for Master. What's next up on your list?
All right, the next one on my list is Dead of Winter.
What a surprise. That's on my list too.
Is it really? Which one do you have?
I have The Dead of Winter, The Long Night.
So that one is the standalone expansion, which actually is the one I'm referring to as well. So there is a base game called The Dead of Winter, and if you choose instead, you can purchase just the long Night without the Dead of Winter. The advantage of Long Night is it has more characters, it has more areas, it has more things you can do. So you don't need both. It is completely separate characters. So if you really love the Long Night, you could also purchase Dead of Winter. The idea is there has been a zombie apocalypse and you're trying to survive. You have always certain objectives that you need to achieve based on how difficult your campaign is. Maybe you need a certain amount of food, or you need to be able to acquire a certain amount of weaponry or something, or a certain amount of survivors. I am not a fan of picking up extra survivors. They eat the food. That's just my thing.
They help us.
They eat the food. Now, sometimes if you lose a character, you might want to, pick up some survivors, and then you get to play more people. But I do like Long Night more because it does talk about the Raxon biochem camp, and then you also get a monkey. I think his name was Blue.
And the bandits are
there. Yeah. Okay. Do you have one more?
I don't. That was my last one.
Okay, my last one is Room 25. So if you've ever seen the movie The Cube, where there are these strangers, they're all in a room, they wake up there, and then it's like an elevator. It moves in different directions, and they're trying to work their way out. In Room 25, you're moving whole rows of these rooms. You take the top one, but push it to the bottom, and then move them up or to the side, and you're trying to find the keys to the combination and get out. Each character has asymmetrical powers, so you're trying to survive at the same time. And as you move to a new tile, you'll flip it over to see what kind of things are in that room. So there's a lot of danger, and for me, it's like, I don't know if we should go back in that direction. Maybe we should go forward. I think that the lock might be on that side. It's just, drives me crazy. I love that game.
And is this the one where the tiles shift around too?
Yeah, you move the whole row.
So you got to kind of remember where the bad stuff is.
Yeah. So,
all right.
I think that's it.
That's our top 5 in no particular order of spooky and suspenseful games.
So if you like this review and you want to hear more, do us a favor, like and subscribe us. We'd love to give you more things to think about, more games to try. And so with that, I am the Elusive Bigfoot.
And I'm Onezie. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.